I was told not to use the word pain. Don't talk about pain. Other hypnobirthing programs have actually done the wrong thing by women. Birth will push you to limits that you never knew you could get to physically, emotionally, spiritually. Welcome to this episode. Just a little quick reminder, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Gosh, I never thought I'd say it like that. But I want you to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss any episodes that are coming up with guests or couples sharing their birth stories or solo episodes where I'm going to be sharing educational information with you. So let's get into this episode. This episode, I want to actually talk about pain in birth because this is one of the biggest fears that I hear that women have, and I was one of them. I remember when I was pregnant, I felt like if I kicked my toe, I would want to pass out. And I was like, how am I going to get through this pain? How am I going to, which I heard someone describe it as, push something the size of a watermelon out of the size of a lemon? And does anyone notice that whenever everyone always actually compares pain to childbirth? It's something that they use all the time. And when we actually see the projection of birth in movies and in stories, they talk about pain. Now, I am someone that in my hypnobirthing courses, I do talk about pain. In the other programs I trained in, I was told not to use the word pain, don't talk about pain. And I'm like, well, there is pain. So I'm not going to lie. And I do not lie to my clients. And though, let's actually make sense of what's happening. So, your uterus is made up of layers of muscles, right? There are two main layers that come into play when it comes to birthing your baby. What happens in a contraction, you think it's something that's contracting, it's where it kind of squeezes and contracts in and then expands back out. That's not really what happens with a uterine contraction. What happens is these layers of muscles, there's an outer layer, which we call the longitudinal layer, and there's an inner layer, which is more of a circular layer that comes down to form the cervix. The outside layer is attached on the outside to the inner layer. And what this layer does is actually tighten and pick up the inner layer, draws up, and then the fundus, which is the top of the uterus, then moves the baby down. It is actually one of the most amazing organs. Like when you think about this, mums, your uterus starts off the size of an avocado and expands to the size of a watermelon, and then within 10 days post-birth shrinks back down, and it has the power to push a baby out. And here's where the reason why I talk about pain in my childbirth education classes and to my clients is I want to normalize it, right? But it's also making sense of physiological pain compared to pathological pain. So let's break this down. Physiological pain. This is the body's natural functionings. And labour and birth is a natural physiological function of the female body. So what's happening is when the uterus the muscles are picking up, tightening and pushing the baby down, there's a lack of blood flow and oxygen coming into the muscles. So what happens is lactic acid builds up. Have you ever felt lactic acid build up? Maybe after you've gone for a run or done a leg day. That lactic acid, it brings in pain, right? This is what's happening. So this is one of the contributing factors to the pain of a contraction, or what I like to call surges or waves, is the buildup of lactic acid. And so what actually helps reduce lactic acid buildup? Can you think of it? Movement, hydration, water, minerals and salts, electrolytes, breath, oxygen. And so when you're going into birth, it's really important that you continue to move throughout. Also having times of rest though. Moving effectively, breathing effectively, using the breath as an energy, making sure that you're oxygenating your blood and your body and also your baby. Making sure you stay hydrated is super important. So please discuss this with your birth partner, having electrolytes, good minerals, salts, magnesium even in the lead up, like making sure like you're preparing your body for birth just like you would run a marathon. So these things can help reduce lactic acid buildup. And though the pain also comes from the muscles pushing a baby, the baby coming into like a bony pelvis, but the baby also rotating through the pelvis. I want to normalize pain and though change the way you think about birth, then the way you birth will change. So change the way you think about this pain. So let's do a reframe because I'm all about like how can we look at the positive in it, recognizing it, acknowledging it, that yes, there is going to be a level of intensity, of pain, of tightening, of pressure, of, baby moving through the pelvis where it's going to be intense. Like I've birthed 2 babies. I know it is intense. And though, let's change it. Maybe let's change it to an acronym. So PAIN, pain. P, it's purposeful. The sensation that you're feeling is normal, it is natural, it is purposeful, it is doing a job. We want to welcome it. It's purposeful, it's powerful. So there's your P. A, it's anticipated. We know it's coming, so you can prepare for it. And through good education, when you learn good tools, techniques, movement, positioning, when your birth partner learns techniques like hands-on acupressure points, releasing techniques, massage to support you in different positions, when we can anticipate it and we're prepared for it, then you can also learn to shift your focus from it. So PA, anticipated. I, it's intermittent. You get breaks. Did you know that surges or contractions last anywhere between maximum 60 to 90 seconds, sometimes 2 minutes? And then you get a break. And the break isn't just for you, it's also for your baby. Every time that your uterus tightens and contracts, it contracts onto the placenta. So there's a lack of blood flow and oxygen going from the placenta to the baby. Babies are designed to cope with these natural interruptions of oxygen and blood. And though, if we're in a surge or a contraction and we're holding and we're tensing our body and we're holding our breath, we're not supplying oxygen, the tension can actually make the contraction feel more intense rather than moving with it because we're tensing up. But we get breaks, and that break is for us to recover, but also for the baby. So that's why our contractions come in these intermittent waves. The N of pain is it's normal. I want to normalize birth and normalize pain in birth. And I think this is where other hypnobirthing programs have actually done the wrong thing by women by not wanting to acknowledge the pain. I don't want to lie to any of you. Birth will push you to limits that you never knew you could get to, physically, emotionally, spiritually. However, when you make sense of your body, when you know that there's an expectation of okay, this is going to be intense, but what can I choose to do to prepare for it? What tools, what resources do I need to refocus myself to get through the pain? Then this is where your labour and birth can be more comfortable, more progressive, and your birth partner can feel more a part of this because they can learn tools and techniques to support you as well. So take this phrase, change the way you think about birth and the way you birth will change. If you're only focusing on how painful birth is, where your focus goes, that's where the energy will flow. So if you're focusing on every contraction, pain, 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 well, that's exactly what you're going to experience. And what if you chose to focus instead on the touch your partner is giving you, on the affirmation tracks that you're listening to, or the breath, honestly, hands down, the best technique I teach within my Hypnobirthing program, the Journey to Birth program, is the breathing techniques. Because breaths helps move energy through the body, which can reduce pain or for more comfort. I like to call them more comfort techniques. So I hope this episode has helped you maybe make a little bit more sense about your body, about pain, and how to reframe. And I just want to ask you a question now. What do you feel you would like to do as the next step to be able to prepare your mind and body for birth? Because I love sharing information on these podcasts, but you can listen to all the podcasts, read all the books, and though if you don't actually embody this knowledge, it's useless. If you don't embody this knowledge, it's useless. Birth is not about being up in the head, having all the information, all the data, all the lists, all the plans. Yes, it's important to have this information, and though it's about being embodied. And that is what I teach. That is how I support women, is to actually get you out of your head and into your body. And so I'm wondering if you're ready to take that next step. Because if you are, book a call with me. I'll put my details below, or just go and check out my offerings. I hope you've taken this as a positive. How can you reframe pain today and start preparing for your beautiful, positive birth? Thanks for joining me on this podcast. Once again, little disclaimer, this is not medical information. This is not medical advice. It should not be taken in the replacement of your medical caregivers. But I'm excited to share this journey to birth with you.